After the pride of Babel scattered the nations, God chose one faithful man to bring hope to a world in chaos through a divine promise of blessing and an eternal heavenly kingdom legacy. Humanity had wandered in total confusion since the fall of the Great Tower, leaving the world fractured and desperate, waiting for a divine light to lead them back to their eternal home. But the holy promise survived through the faithful line of Shem, eventually finding its way to a man named Abram, living in the bustling and prosperous ancient city known globally as Ur. In a city devoted to 1,000 silent idols, Abram's heart stirred for the one true God as he watched his father carve stone figures that could neither hear their prayers nor speak. Then, out of the deep desert silence, the Almighty spoke, commanding Abram to leave everything he knew behind for a distant land that he had never once seen with his own eyes before. Trusting the heavenly voice, Abram took his very first step of faith, gathering Sarai and Lot to begin a dangerous journey into the great, unknown, and incredibly vast desert wilderness. The long journey paused in the land of Haran for many years, until the death of his father finally signaled that it was time to move deeper into the mysteries of God's ancient promise. Finally entering the land of Canaan, Abram built a humble altar to the living God, claiming the dusty hills not with a sharp sword, but with a heart full of deep worship and sacrifice. Yet, testing came quickly to the man of faith. A severe famine gripped the hills, forcing the small, weary caravan to seek survival in the lush and green river delta of ancient Egypt. Fearful for his own life in a strange and pagan land, Abram asked Sarai to hide the truth of their marriage, a desperate choice that would soon haunt them both inside the royal palace. This deception led Sarai straight into the grand palace of Pharaoh. While Abram was showered with immense wealth and livestock, the heavy and painful price of his own silent, deep fear. But God intervened with terrible and mysterious plagues, revealing the truth to Pharaoh and forcing Abram to face the spiritual cost of his sudden lack of total trust and daily faith. Banished in total disgrace, the travelers turned their faces back toward the rugged hills of Canaan, though their new wealth was now becoming a growing source of deep domestic tension. At Bethel, the dry land could no longer hold them both, and a bitter, loud strife broke out between the herdsmen who served Abram and those who followed his young nephew, Lot. Seeking peace over his own legal rights, Abram gave Lot the first choice of the entire land, showing the true, humble heart of a man led by the divine wisdom of the living God. Lot's eyes were drawn to the shimmering green beauty of the Jordan Valley, a choice that would lead him directly toward the dark gates of the wicked and doomed city known as Sodom. As Lot departed, God spoke to the lonely Abram, promising that his family would one day be as numerous as the grains of dust beneath his feet, stretching across the whole face of the earth. Many years passed until war suddenly arrived. A coalition of kings raided the valley, dragging Lot away into the darkness of captivity, along with the innocent people of the plains. Abram did not hesitate for a single moment, arming 318 servants born in his own house to launch a desperate night rescue. For the sake of his captured family, and a swift and tactical night ambush, the rescue mission succeeded perfectly, and the weary captives were finally freed from the iron grip of the four powerful and pagan enemy kings. On the long road home, Abram met the mysterious Melchizedek, a priest of God Most High who blessed him with a holy, symbolic meal consisting of simple bread and a cup of pure wine. But as the priest-king stepped back, the king of Sodom stepped forward, offering Abram all the riches of the valley in exchange for the souls of the people he had just bravely rescued. Refusing the blood-stained spoils of war, Abram declared that only God would be his provider, turning his back forever on the temporary and hollow riches offered by the king of Sodom. But as the long years stretched on without a child, God led Abram outside to see a sky full of brilliant stars, a vast promise of a future generation yet to be born on the earth. Then, in a deep and mysterious sleep, God sealed a holy blood covenant with Abram, passing through the sacrifice as a smoking firepot and a brilliant, flaming, and holy torch. Still, Sarai grew weary of the long, painful wait, and, in her desperation, gave her servant Hagar to Abram, attempting to force the divine promise to pass through her own human means. But human plans brought only pride and pain, as Hagar's pregnancy sparked a bitter, deep rivalry that fractured the peace of the household and left everyone in a state of great distress. Driven by Sarah's harshness and her own deep despair, Hagar chose the silence of the dangerous wilderness over the bitterness of the tents, fleeing alone into the unforgiving desert. Fleeing into the burning heat, she collapsed by a desert spring, only to find that she was not truly alone in her suffering, for the Lord had seen her and heard her desperate cry. The angel of the Lord appeared and promised her that her son, Ishmael, would also grow into a great and mighty nation under God's watchful eye throughout all of the coming generations. For 13 long years, young Ishmael was the center of Abram's world, until God appeared once more to reveal a much greater plan for the family and the salvation of the whole world. The holy sign of the covenant was established, a lasting mark that would separate Abram's house from the world and dedicate them to the service of the Almighty Father forever. Names were changed to reflect their new divine destiny. Abram became Abraham, and Sarai became Sarah, the mother of nations, as the promise finally began to draw very near to them. One hot afternoon, 3 mysterious visitors arrived at the oaks of Mamre, bringing news of a birth that seemed completely impossible to any human ears or limited understanding. Hearing she would bear a son at 90, Sarah laughed in the shadows of the tent, not yet knowing that the Lord's word is final and that nothing is ever too difficult for him. Meanwhile, Abraham pleaded for the lost souls of Sodom, standing as a humble intercessor before the Lord, asking for mercy before the final judgment fell upon the wicked valley below. As fire fell from heaven, angels dragged Lot's family to safety, warning them to flee for their lives and never look back at the world they were leaving behind for their own good. But Lot's wife hesitated, her heart still tied to the doomed city, and she was frozen in time as a pillar of salt, a tragic reminder of a soul divided between 2 different worlds. Finally, the laughter of disbelief became the laughter of pure joy as Isaac was born, just as the Lord had spoken, bringing light and hope to the tents of the aged and faithful couple. But the greatest test was yet to come. God called Abraham to offer this beloved son as a sacrifice on Mount Moriah, proving his love for the Creator above all other earthly things. As they climbed the mountain, Isaac asked of the sacrificial lamb, and Abraham's reply echoed through time. God himself will provide the lamb as he walked forward in total faith. At the very moment of sacrifice, as Isaac lay bound upon the altar, An angel stopped the hand of the father, for a substitute ram was already provided by God within the thicket. In the end, Abraham's long journey closed with one final act of faith, securing a resting place for Sarah in the land of promise, as he looked forward to a city yet to come from God. This path reminds us that faith is not perfection, but trusting in the one who provided the Lamb for us all, bridging the gap between heaven and earth through his everlasting love. Join us as we follow Isaac's legacy and the blessing passed to Jacob. Subscribe to Christ-Centered Media for more from the legacy. Keep seeking light.